Peace in, folks. How you doing? All right. Use the force. Positive mental attitude. We always trying, eh? So I go and have some tricky conversations wherever I can. More often than not online, just because they're easier to find. And one of my concerns since I was a child was the whole issue of race, skin colour. I'm black, I'm white, you're brown, you're pinky beige. Real talk though, right? You know, these terms, white and black, were created by the lawmakers for the slave masters to justify their domination over humanity, not just the brown skinned people, which I get has been a horrific war. But so one of the conversations I try to have is just to talk about history, because I go to some, I don't know what you'd call them, I've heard them called pro-black pages. So and I know that the brown skin community have taken the label of black and run with it, and that's their gig. I don't have to speak how you want me to, so I'd rather, if we need to use skin as a fucking description, I'm going to be accurate. You know, like I said in the past before, the only people that I've seen on this planet that resemble black skin are like Somalians or people out sort of that sort of North Africa way, and they almost like shimmer blue, which is fucking beautiful, right? So, but there's a lot of talk of history. You know, you get white people trying to, so let's talk from what I perceive, from what I've seen throughout the larger brown skin community, wider brown skin community, is, you know, we've got this history that to me seems contradictory and conflicting at every fucking turn, right? Because there's this whole teaching of the savages and the liberation from my great ancestors, way back, way back, even before the Romans finally got their fucking hands into our island. Before that, we'd been attacked and attacked and attacked, much like most nations. You know, Africa's history, you can see through their dynasties, the fucking register of fucking attacks by the Spaniards, which was then like the Portuguese, right? Who are like some of the original slave masters, mainland Europe, right? It's not like England was the fucking original slave masters. But yet, because of the fucking British Empire and the fucking crown, and all the fuckery they continued, white European men in general are just evil, devilish white skin, right? No, I'm not. And you know what? Most people I know aren't. There's some people that could do with doing some work with some white fragility issues, but as a general, most people I know are not racist. They don't even have subtle racism. There's narratives being pushed around the world that are keeping people divided. And one of the easiest divides that they figured out how to do was skin colour, right? And the more we perpetuate it, the more we buy into it. So, go and have these conversations. And, you know, history gets thrown in my face. I, as a white skin European male, go into these pro-black internet communities, and I try and have some reasonable conversation, demonstrate who I am and where I come from, in the sense of, I'm no one special, but in the sense of, look, I'm representing a whole load of people that give a fuck about people. And we're not raised thinking that skin colour is important. Quite the opposite. We're raised believing what's inside people is important. But, unfortunately, in the name of white supremacy for years, black people, brown-skinned people have been fucking persecuted, attacked, destroyed. It's, when you look at the history, it's more like genocide. So I can say to you that my ancestors were enslaved before yours. Before Africa experienced Western slavery, because Africa had its own type of slavery. But their law system, as opposed to having prisons and stuff, they would just send people out onto slave ships or into different colonies to work for like a month, a year, 2 years, depending on what they'd committed. And then they'd come back to the community after paying their time doing labour. So I'm just demonstrating my knowledge of history there, right? But when you look into the history of the globe, whoever it was that came out of like mainland Europe area that had just been waging war on humanity, they don't give a fuck what skin colour we got, because they're trying to fuck us all over. Again, I've just pointed out that I believe that the brown skin community have had what is close to the biggest genocide on the earth. I would say second only to the native population, which is all of our ancestors. All. Right, now here's the kicker, right? This is something that I've been seeing. So there's this whole teaching, right, of like, you know, Africa being this, like, you know, barbarian nation, right? There was this whole like liberations of the barbarians, right, which I think half people don't buy into, but as soon as you look into it you realise that was bullshit anyway. But I'm going to try and get this out right, because I've never vocalised this before. So what I've seen is you've got the teaching that Africa was, you know, simplistic, barbarian, hunter-gatherer, no technology, no knowledge. But then you get this other teaching that is all life started in Africa. Everyone comes from Africa. African people are nothing. African people are the best. That is a common teaching that is hugely conflicting. And depending on which side, you know, the slaves that have been in the belly of the beast, or the slaves that were on the outskirts of the empire, that singular teaching will teach separation between us all, will it not? And it's bullshit anyway. It's bullshit anyway. Why is it bullshit? Because Africa's history is hugely rich. By the time the Greeks were starting to get great, the Africans were on like their fucking 25th dynasty or something. Secondly, I do not believe that Africa is the fucking start of all life. Because there's too much history on the planet, all over the earth, for over 1 million years. But when you look back to the times of the Sumerians, and now this is like since the like 11th, in between what is it, in between about 11,000 and 12,000 years ago, say 10.5 and 13, like, just in case I'm out. In between 10,500 and 13,000 years ago, there was a huge cataclysm on Earth. It is believed and highly supported, although not into the indoctrination system of the academics. So, you know, we can't say this is a fact because, you know, the gangsters' teachers haven't authorised it. But nonetheless, there is high amounts of evidence supporting this maybe meteor that hit Earth that seems to have fucked with our history big time. Well, since that time, the earliest writings we have and the earliest teachings we have that I believe came from the Sumerians. Now, religions took vast amounts of information from the age of the Sumerians, right? Based a lot of their work on it, apart from the creation story. And the creation story talks about how the gods, with a small g, so it's not like the almighty consciousness of the universe, it's a small g, so it's basically like demigods, came down to this planet and they genetically modified the natives that were here and were utilising them to slave in mines to get gold out. History's deep. What we've all been taught by this Western inflicted academic system is half bullshit. Where's the teachings on fucking alchemy? Right, the alchemist. That is some of the most original science that incorporates everything. It's not separatist like Western education that divides everything up and separates it. So you've got different compartments of science over here, and you've got geography over there, and you've got maths over there, and it's all the fucking same thing. It's all the fucking same thing. And if you know, so my point is, not all white people want to enslave people, and not all white people want to enslave people, and not all black people want to rob people. Not all Muslims want to fucking blow people up. But the problem we've got is our psychology has been hijacked. So we've all had these subtle misteachings that makes us hate on the other one. And unless we find them, unless we dare to look into ourselves with the only intention of progression for the betterment of ourselves and everyone else regardless, then a lot of people are going to keep trying to go round in these cycles, which is perpetuating war and murder and famine and bullshit that none of us want. I don't speak from a position of someone who's scared. I don't give a fuck about dying, however it comes. I'm more concerned with what we do while we're here. Don't fucking die trying, live doing. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want a fucking future like the past for anyone. I didn't even want the past to be like that. When I found out what it was, I was fucking sickened and angry. What can you do? Right? You can't force anyone to look at something in a new way. But we can at least show ourselves. We can at least show the world who we are, especially in this day and age with all this technology. There's no reason not to be honestly yourself. You know? Because people appreciate honesty, I believe. You know, I was raised on the saying, honesty is the best policy, right? So the governments are crooks, the royals are murderers, the system is modern day enslavement. Freedom is an illusion. You try and be a free person, really. Right? Because what is a free person? A free person is someone who can actually move freely, do as they like. Right? Now, if you actually wanted to do that, the only way you can move around the earth is with all these contracts that you sign into. Right, which is a part of what keeps you accountable to the law systems, right? Which, to a degree, I'm down with. I've said it. I think we need law, we need structure, but we don't need dominance and we don't need leaders. Leader is ego. Ego is war. I mean, that's an extreme end of ego, but it's there. So we've got all these problematic power families that have been running rampant over the earth, causing problems, divide and conquering us all for way too long. And I'm sick of it. I want us all to come together. Unity. What a beautiful place to end, eh? I'm going to wish you all well. I hope if I've said something that you haven't thought on, you think about it. And I hope I've said something that might have triggered you to think about something else. If you're from either side, any of the sides of the colour spectrum of skin, we need to unite, all of us. Because look what they did to the natives, and they're doing it to the rest of us. Use the force, positive mental attitude, be kind with your thoughts, keep loving your hearts, and let's get it. Get what, John? Awareness, of course. Peace in.